Welcome to this week's Ask Charlie. Little Florence with a big tummy. I've got to stop calling her Little Florence because you're not so little anymore, are you, darling? She's got a tummy full of little ones. Oh, Penny's coming over too. Hi, darling. Hi. Penny, what are you doing? Here she is. Oh, and now Florence wants a cuddle as well. Oh, yes. All the girls. All the girls. I can't have you both up here at once. Sorry. Say hello to Florence, and then here she is with a big tummy. Yes, I know. Right, you go and sit there, and I'm going to chat to you all after having dog snuggles about tech. So, somebody got in touch and said, Charlie, please, can you talk to us about tech, what you do with your children, how you handle it all, because it is a complete and utter minefield. And I think, I know if my mum was here today, she'd say, gosh, I don't envy you parenting in today's world with all of these devices and gaming and all of that jazz. You know, when we were little, we just didn't have it. My brother and I shared a Game Boy and we had a video recorder that we basically, we probably watched 2 movies a year, if that. We had to go to Blockbusters and choose them. And really the only reason why we got the video machine was to watch videos back of us riding that Mummy had videoed on the, camcorder. And then we'd play them back and we would look at where we could improve our technique. That's really was the only purpose. We didn't really watch much TV or any of that stuff. And we only really had the Game Boy when we had long journeys with the horses, and sometimes we'd be travelling from the south of the country up to the north, so we would be in the car for hours. So it is a complete minefield. It's challenging, and I'm going to chat to you about what we do. So I think the first thing that is really important is that everybody is on the same wavelength, and whether you are a single parent but have help from other family members, whether you are married, whether whatever your situation looks like, everybody needs to be on the same wavelength and working together. So the children can't play parents off against one another. So you don't want one child to come to you and then you give them the answer they don't want to hear, so they go to the other parent who says yes. Then it's a recipe for disaster. So the number one thing is that everybody is on the same wavelength. Now, we parent really well together, but it's been work in progress. It hasn't always happened like that, and we have to support one another. And if one parent makes a decision, then we need to make sure that we back up the other one. And we also talk, Simon and I, about forbidden fruit, and I'm going to give you a few analogies. So whether it's fizzy drinks, whether it's sweets, whether it's junk food, whether it is, whatever it is, we would rather our children have the things within moderation. So for example, for special occasions, I might get some fizzy drinks in, cans of Coke or something as a treat. It's not an everyday thing, it's an occasion thing. But it's not forbidden fruit. Like occasionally I might say, yeah, you can have that, or yes, you can have some sweets or whatever it is, but it's not an everyday thing. But I think if you are brought up not being allowed to have the thing, sometimes you can go completely the other way and rebel. So it's about having a happy medium. It's about a happy balance. And I think that goes with a lot of things. For example, for special occasions, if we are toasting something, the children might have a tiny sip of alcohol and in their glass and have a sip to toast a special occasion. So it's not about, no, you cannot ever touch that, because I believe if you are brought up with that mindset, then you are possibly more likely to rebel. So we would rather our children have a sip of alcohol in front of us rather than it being a taboo thing. And the same goes for sweets and fizzy drinks and things like that. So it's all within moderation. And so then that extends into the world of technology. So let me talk through what we have done. All of our children have mobile phones. We were quite late to the party getting them phones. We held off for as long as we possibly could. I think going off to senior school, secondary school, I think that is a time when children should have a phone. If they are traveling alone, if they are away for a period of time, whatever it might be, I think that's a good time for a child to have a phone. And Coco spends quite a lot of time riding with her friends, so it's great for her to have a phone. I know that if there is a problem, she can get hold of me, and that for me is really important. Gus got his phone last year. He's going to be 13 this year, so he was 12, and he went on a school trip, and I wanted him to be able to get in touch with us if he wanted to and if he needed to. And the majority of the other children on the trip also had their own phones, so it felt like the right time for him to have one. And it's important to talk to other parents and ask, you know, what they're doing, how they do it. Are you the only one that doesn't have it? I know, you know, for example, children can be quite clever little monkeys, and they can say, I'm the only one that doesn't have it, or I'm the only one that's not allowed to play Fortnite, or whatever it might be. And it's important to chat to other parents and find out what they're doing. And I found that quite helpful to sort of gauge where we are. And I don't want to be that parent that's really kind of archaic and not allowing things. I want my children to feel that they're not massively the odd one out by not having these things. I want them to feel that they can fit in, but it is important, and I'm going to say this a lot during this chat, it is important to have healthy boundaries and moderation, but that's like everything in life. So our children all have phones, but we have to have access to their phones. So I need to know their phone codes, and I can at any time have a look through their phone and see that they are looking at appropriate things. We haven't put any boundaries, restrictions in place as to what they have access to or not. We have decided, and this is very much a joint decision that we had lots of conversations about and we took advice on as well. We decided to allow them to have access to everything, to let them know that they have access to everything, but if they overstep the mark, if we check their phones and they're looking at inappropriate things, then there's going to be consequences to that. And I think that, again, it's a forbidden fruit thing. If we put lots of restrictions in place, they're going to wonder why, when they have access to it, they're going to be looking. So I would rather have really honest, open conversations with my children about these things, and give them that degree of trust that they know that if they overstep the mark, then there are consequences. And again, it's about having limits to their devices. So not being on them all day, limiting them, like they need to do all their other things first, prep, thank you letters, jobs, helping around, you know, the house, making their bed, putting their clothes away, doing all of that stuff first, and then they can, you know, go and game, be on their phone, whatever it is. So it's about putting boundaries and limits in place, and we don't allow the children to have their phones in their room at night, and I think that's something really important. So there is a cut-off period, and I think it's really good to have a cut-off period to wind down before they go to bed, so they're not, you know, on a screen and then trying to go to sleep. So it's having, you know, a period of time when they're just chilling, just, you know, not staring at a screen. So that I think is really important. I think it's really important for us as parents to be really good role models and show healthy relationship. Now, I haven't always found this easy because everything I do is, you know, having an online business, I'm on a device a lot of the time, but we never have them at the table. I make sure that I put my phone away, that it spends the majority of the time, which can be quite annoying actually if people are trying to get hold of me, on silent, so I don't hear it pinging. I will turn off notifications. I will put it to one side. I will purposefully go into a room where my desk is and sit down and reply to messages in one go and say to the children, mummy's working. So I'm not just standing around on it the whole time. I try to do that, and I try to be a good role model and show a healthy relationship with things. And I do, you know, sit down and watch TV and will purposefully leave my phone somewhere else. So I think that is a really important thing. Now let's get on to gaming. Gaming is, gosh, one of those things. And Coco's not really into it. She'll play Wordle, she'll do word games, she'll do things like that on her phone, but she doesn't game. Whereas the boys love to game. And again, it's about having healthy boundaries. It is about knowing what games they're on. It's about knowing who they are playing with, which I think is unbelievably important. We have a rule that they are only allowed to game with people that they know, and not with strangers. And there has been an incident when I overheard one of our children playing a game with somebody whose voice sounded very unfamiliar and older, and I put a stop to that immediately, because I think the children need to know that, and it's without scaring them, but they also need to know that there are people out there that will try to befriend them and then build their trust and then ask them to do things. And that is, you know, and if you think that they are your online friend, oh, but they're my friend, mummy, I've been playing with them for ages and they've asked me to do this and I've done it because they're my friend. No, that is really, really, really inappropriate. So I make sure that I walk into the room where they're gaming. I make sure that the door isn't closed unless I don't want to hear them. But I make sure I am really, really aware of who they're gaming with and what they are doing, which I think is really, really important. And it's about putting time limits on it as well, so they're not there gaming for hours on end. You know, they're getting out, they're getting fresh air, they're doing other things, they are burning off energy, because you sleep so much better when you are physically active. When you are just staring at a screen the whole time, it isn't good for you. You know, we know these things, and it's really important for us to educate our children in healthy ways. So I think that's really, really important. Only allow online relationships, friendships, gaming with people that they know, or, you know, it might be a friend of somebody else's friend at another school, but you need to be, as parents, aware of exactly what's going on. I think that is really, really important. So I really hope that you have found that helpful. It is a minefield out there. It is difficult, but I think the most important thing is that you are all on the same wavelength, that you talk to the school, that you talk to other parents, that you and, you know, other family members are all on the same page. And it's about allowing your children that sense of freedom. It's about letting them do these things, but with healthy boundaries. And I'm going to end this on some words of wisdom from the most wonderful, wonderful lady in my life, Auntie Margaret. And she said to me when Archie was born, you need to let them fly, you need to let them go, because then they will want to come back. And that is something that I go back to in my head time and time again. It's so hard as a parent, every step when they're growing up, but it is about letting them have that freedom. It's about letting them go and meet their friend, maybe in a town or something, and having a few hours off. It's about letting them go on that train journey or that bus ride on their own. It's about letting them do these things and us giving them the confidence that they can do it. I think that is really important. So I hope that this has been helpful. Do let me know in the comments down below if there's other things that you would like me to discuss. I'd be really, really happy to. And in the meantime, have a great week, and I will see you on Friday with a new vlog. Lots of love, and thank you for tuning in today.